89 right here, Steve Smith Sr., James Palmer, breaking down all of the receivers in this talented or lack thereof talent. I'm not sure. Let's break it down. Wide receiver class for 2025. Tetairoa McMillan, T-Mac, they call him. One team told me, Steve, he is the only number one in this draft.
Excuse me?
We'll see. We'll debate it.
Okay.
We got a lot of opinions. There's a lot of opinions on the 6'4", 219-pound receiver out of Arizona. The only guy going over 1,300 yards each of the last 2 seasons. 84 and 93 catches in each of the last 2 seasons, putting up some numbers. Initial thought when you started looking at the film before we get to it, Steve, is what?
He's a good player.
Okay.
I have to say that. Let's get this out of the way because, I've been making my rounds around these pro days, and this is a guy that a lot of people have really talked about. I was at the Big Ten Pro Day down in Dallas, Texas, and talked to a few sources. Would you like to know how many sources that I talked to and talked to me?
I would love to hear that.
My sources, let's hit it with that hood, B31, okay? I'm just gonna let you know.
Okay.
Also had a few sources that were representing some colleges there as well. So they actually said, hey man, I really liked your assessment, thought it was interesting. And so here we go. Let's buckle up, buttercups, because I think this is gonna be an interesting one. It's going to be, I'm going to let you know right now, it's going to be a lot more talking and less film. Why? Because I already believe this is a dynamic football player. I think he can play football. I'll say this before everyone. I believe he can play football. But I also read and listen to a lot of different people, because when you listen and read a lot of different people, you get kind of understanding. Right. And I'm in the comments and reading some of that. And folks, keep the comments coming because I think it's great. Someone I heard McMillan, he's described like this: has all pro potential because of his length, athleticism, and football intelligence. He's a smooth criminal of a wide receiver who has the focal point of Arizona's offense. He's unique in talent who deserves to be considered in the top 10 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Then pros. His height stands out on tape before the snap. Difference making in size. Then it goes cons. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 pros and 2 cons.
Okay.
Very slender build, which can impact blocking efficiently.
Okay.
Likely won't be a consistent separator versus single coverage. However, much better in 2024.
Okay. The one thing I want to get into, Steve, right here when we talk about him, and this is why this is kind of like you mentioned, talking to enough people, and I know you said you have, people are kind of all over the map a little bit. The floor is very high in almost everybody I talk to. They don't think this bottoms out, right? They're just, it's a high floor. They think he's going to be a good NFL receiver.
Me as well. I believe that too.
Every team kind of judges these, and you know this, but everybody at home probably doesn't. Everybody judges these guys with different grading systems, right? Some are like stars, some are colors.
Some are numbers.
Some are numbers. Yeah, they put them all in their different groupings. I will say this, like there's a couple teams that are, he's like, say just like red, blue, they go down. Like he's the only red guy that they have out of the wide receiver.
Which is red guy means that he's a starter. Some teams have red as unique talent, one of a kind. So
well, there's also one above that, right? The blue chip.
The blue chip, yes.
The 5-star, the
Correct.
one you don't give out every year. I think most teams I've talked to said there may not be an offensive player that has that grade on their board. A couple of defensive guys have that top grade.
Okay.
But maybe a couple of teams don't even have an offensive player in that top group, which it's a small category. You have to check every single box as a prospect. And so he's kind of, in some teams' minds, because of all the things we're going to break down, in a little bit of a class of his own. But as this process has gone down, he's kind of slipped a little bit from being a top 10 guy to being where Is he going to be the first receiver off the board? Where in the first round does he go off the board? And let's get into the nitty-gritty of
Yes.
why that debate is happening.
Yes.
Because it also is about what you're looking for and what you need.
What you're looking for, where those teams are. So here's some of the things that has transpired. Now, people in the comments that say, "Oh, he already ran his 40, Steve. What are you talking about?" Yeah, that's because we recorded it before his 40, so thank you. Now, there's a clip out there that says, and his words is, he ran exactly what he said he was going to run, which is allegedly 4.48. Now, some of the people I talked to, they said they landed on, he ran a 4.54. Some people said he ran a 4.56. Now, I ain't no mathematician, no geometric teacher, right?
Geometric.
Right. Me and calculus didn't really flow. But that math ain't mathing for me, because they were saying, well, official time was this, and that's what his team is putting out. His team is putting out, he ran a 4.48.
When you say team, you mean his personal team or Arizona?
I think his camp. How about that?
Okay.
I'll say his camp.
Got it. The schools like to put out a good number.
They do. They said, well, here's the official number. But I don't know if you guys seen any pro days on some of these networks. It's like 100 people sitting on benches at the end of the 40 with stopwatches. And I'm not sure how those don't count over yours, since they got the bag and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then another thing, someone said to me, man, he's a great kid. I don't know if he's a good kid or bad kid. It's not my place. I don't think he's a bad kid. I don't know him. I've yet to meet him. I've watched a lot of film on him. This year, I think he played 356 snaps. The year before with Jacob County, 359 snaps. I watched a few. I don't watch highlights. I watch targets, non-targets. I just watch how a guy develops and goes about his business. And someone said, man, he has a West Coast vibe. Let me hit you with the brakes on that one. He doesn't have a West Coast vibe. He doesn't. He has a island vibe. He's an island boy. And island boys, they're a little casual. They kind of go about it a different way. So I'm doing all this research because I want to make sure I represent and do this deep dive that is not good or bad. I'm laying it all out and allow the consumer, allow the fans to create their own and draw their own conclusion, not based on what you think I think about him, because technically I'm going to tell you this and you're going to notice it over the last couple of years that I've been doing these. I try to make it seem like I love every prospect that's coming out, because I don't want you to know what I truly think about each one, because they all, just like everybody, they all got some things that you're like, oh, I wish he would do this better, do that better. But I try not to come across that way. I want to make sure that I just kind of share it. But this one is a little bit interesting because he's just had his pro day. People are commenting and saying something. So we're going to spend a little bit more time just really on the young man, right? On what his team is doing. He went to the combine, allegedly, and said he's not actually even going to do his pro day. There was nothing he needed to run. He didn't need to prove anything. And, a few of those 30 sources that I know were able to, massage it in and say, hey, man, you probably should run. Because his story, allegedly, was, well, why do I have to run? Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't run last year.
Mm-mm. This is a conversation that is coming up in league circles with this whole, I'm not going to work out, I'm going to prepare for the league. What we saw Marvin do. And I talked to a lot of people because I know you and I were both curious about this. Is this going to become a thing, right?
Unless you have a junior, your ass ain't Marvin Harrison or Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's why you ran.
Mm-hmm. anything.
Sorry, I
So,
interjected. I
the way-
apologize.
I totally get it. But the way this started with Marvin specifically was Marvin didn't tell teams, I think I've done enough and I don't need to do anything. Marvin asked, and teams told Marvin, we don't need you to do anything.
Hold on. Man, rewind that. And run that again because people need to hear that.
Marvin asked, and teams told Marvin, we don't need you to do anything. That's the biggest difference, Steve. And so, will this become a thing? Obviously, players don't want to put in, watch my tape. No. What we're seeing now with this group of wide receivers, specifically in this draft, is what teams are telling me is, I want to see a guy compete. Because nobody here is a prospect like some of the guys we saw last year. Like a Marvin Harrison, complete, check every single box that he does. He asked teams, 9 different teams told him, we don't need to see anything from you. It wasn't like he told those teams. So with this group, what teams are looking for is, how competitive are you?
Yes.
I want to see you go out and compete. Go out at your pro day, at the combine, go show us what you want to put out on film. Because I was told specifically about T-Mac, not this specifically, and we didn't even plan this, Steve.
Oh, I can
His floor is high. He's not super complete like Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out.
Well,
But it's a little different, kind of wiry. Definitely needs a little more, so like there were things that they want checked.
You want to know why they want to check with him specifically? Because I'm not going to do it on the show, but you can go watch the Colorado game. I watched that film, and I saw him shut it down against Colorado. I saw him check out because he was getting checked, and that's something that I noticed. And I talked to some people, and they said, well, I nor confirm nor deny that statement. How did you know? I said, I watched the film. And let me tell you something that I have to admit and I want to admit.
Okay.
So when I'm watching a lot of these young receivers, older receivers, mid-age receivers, broken down receivers, injury, whatever receiver you want to put on there. A lot of times when I'm talking about a receiver, I'm not talking from I invented football. I do not believe I invented football. I am 5'9". I did not invent football. I'm sorry. I understand that. But I also am speaking from experience. Not experience because I played in the league, but experience mentally, who's in tune with himself mentally, where you know how I know when a guy is unsure about catching a football with his hands and he catches it with his body? Because I did it. You know why I know when a guy shuts it down when he's no longer wants to be engaged with the football game because he's not getting the ball, or he's getting double teamed, or the individual that is in front of him, like Darrelle Revis or Richard Sherman or Patrick Peterson. I mean, I can go down a list. Sante Samuels, or down a list of players.
Some players there.
Right? A list of players who has made my work day extremely difficult. And I've been like, you know what? Dog, I ain't getting the ball, man. And we ain't winning. And shut it down. I'm speaking from experience. I know what the body language looks like. I know what the attitude, all of that stuff. So I'm not speaking to talk about a guy negatively. I've been there. And so that's why I'm pointing out when I say a guy isn't comfortable catching with the ball with his hands, because there were times when I played in an offense where I didn't get the ball for 3 or 4 series, and then all of a sudden I know, man, it's 3rd and 5, this guy's pressed up, I haven't ran very many routes, and he's going to throw me the football, and I know I can't afford to drop this football. So you know what I do? I panic, and I go, hey, body catch. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it as it's a negative. I'm just saying I've been there and I know what's going on. So that's how I'm able to identify it and tell you, because I've done it.
Well, you're probably not alone in terms of receivers that have done it. And what my curiosity is, Steve, that has to be a major conversation, I would assume, when teams get to speak to T-Mac one-on-one, right? Like, if I'm a certain team, I'm bringing that film up and I'm asking him to describe it to me. And I do think those conversations are very telling for teams.
They do.
If you ask, right? They're very telling for teams. They want to know what you say, because I'm going to say right now, a lot of guys in that room know everything that you just said, and they want to know if you're going to tell me the truth
or lie,
or you're going to lie to me.
Yep.
And that's a big deal in the private visits, in the 30 official visits that these teams get. Those are the type of conversations they want to know. They're not questioning his ability to play football.
No.
They think he can play.
Yep.
Everybody I talk to believes he can play. They say, you get him out in space and he has room to run, he is right here. He is dangerous. Like that is in my notes. But they want all of these other pieces of the puzzle put together. How are you going to answer those questions when we want to break down? Because that happens, right? Put you on the board or watch some of your film together. That happens on these visits. So you want those things checked. That's a conversation that these teams are having. That's why this process, as much as we want to say, coming out of school, all right, this guy's here. Daniel Jeremiah has mock drafts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9.0 coming out. More information comes through these visits, comes through this time, and it's all the different jigsaw pieces of the puzzle coming together to what your final grade on that board is going to be come the week before the draft. So do you have any other points you want to make before we get into the film? I got lots of notes, but I think I want to drop some of them during the film breakdown.
Yeah, we about to get into this film.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to tell you now, if you got kids in the room, you probably want to put on some headphones and tell them to leave the room, because it ain't going to be as pretty as y'all think.
This episode of 89 is brought to you by BetterHelp. You know, in football, you have a support system, right? Whether it's your coaches, your trainers, or your teammates to help you kind of succeed. But what about you? What about off the field and making yourself the best version of yourself? Well, BetterHelp can help you do that. I know oftentimes we're playing hero ball, right? We're going at it all by ourselves. We got to do it alone. But when you talk to a therapist, you have an opportunity to alleviate that. And we're not just talking about major trauma. We're talking about coping with a variety of things, whether it's relationship issues, just overall stress, just creating the best environment for you to be the best version of yourself. And BetterHelp can help you do that. Now, the best thing about it is BetterHelp is 100% online, so it is both affordable and convenient. With over 5 million people participating worldwide, well, you know you're in good hands. So build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/89 and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/89.
All right, going to the film. Well, let's start off with the first play against T-Mac. T-Mac as a great opportunity. What do they say? Physical at the line of scrimmage. Again, you do not get to pick your opponents. They are nameless, faceless people that are lined up in front of you. So the first play right here, let's just show a little highlight going through up at the top. Corner falls on his cabeza and throws the ball right there. Boom. Look at that. Outstanding. Quarterback play was pretty interesting. Ooh, great block, good pickup. Wide open, number 12.
Let me see us at the line.
You want to see him at the line? Down at the line. There he goes. Widens out. Doesn't usually use his hands. The DB falls down. So, okay. That's great separation on that one. You know, some of the people would say. Now, down at the bottom, in every country and every state, this be holding. Just wanted to throw it out there. Look, I mean, that is ridiculous. The corner is holding. But here's the problem that I have with the corner holding. I don't see him trying to fight off the defender. He's leaning into him and allowing the corner to grab him. Look, just widens him, gives him the shoulder. I need better than that. 6'5", 200 and something pounds. Can't let that happen.
I had an OC that I was talking to that was watching a lot of T-Mac, and they're interested. But he said his play strength isn't crazy good, but it does flash at times for sure. If he is unimpeded going up for the ball, he's going to go and get it and come down with it. The first part, though, I'm looking at going, is that something at that size that you see where teams are going, man, I almost feel like there should be more play strength for the size that he has?
That's what I said last year. He didn't, when Jacob Cowing was on the team, he didn't pop in regards of showing the dominance of catching a football on a consistent basis. It was Jacob Cowing, the number 1 wide receiver, and T-Mac was the number 2 wide receiver. And the energy level from him was not consistent if he was not the focal point of the offense. And so that tells me a little bit of immaturity, but that also tells me how is he going to handle when he goes to a pro team and he's not the focal point of the offense. You know us diva wide receivers.
Yeah, you guys are.
So what is it going to do? It's you're going to have some tendencies and some things that teams can do to mentally remove you from the game by eliminating you from the game plan. And now you're no longer worried about him. So now it's because the quarterback doesn't count unless he's mobile. So you got, it's really 9 on 11 because you don't have to really worry about the quarterback. So that's why this is just an evaluation process. Here we go against Kansas, down at the bottom. This is where his height stands out before the snap of the ball, right? Difference is his size. It's down at the bottom, inside. Wow. Fantastic. It's a really good throw, condensed set. Okay. Watch this catch, though. Great catch. Ooh, one-handed. That was beautiful. Let me show you right here, down at the bottom. You got 2x2 condensed set. He should be running a quick out, but he doesn't. He runs an out. You got 1 defender, 2 defenders, 3 defenders right there. Now you go play. So they're establishing now defender number 2 has this guy. He's man-to-man, and you got safety over the top, supposedly. Are they going to disguise it? Let's see. I need more push. I need more strength play. That was a great catch.
Great catch. Great catch.
I mean, the concentration is good, but you don't want to always have to make those types of catches every time. You could argue it might have been a catch. Ooh, right there. The foot was in, so he might have caught it. But my point is, it was a really, really good catch. Here we got to play next. Get same team, Kansas. Again, not physical at the point of attack. It's a little bit too close for comfort for me.
What do you mean?
I'll show you this back end view. Watch this. Tries to just outrun him. Trying to get the guy to run. Defender. Receiver. Ball. That's not a mole. That's a football. If you have a corner that is not looking at the defender but having his eyes to the quarterback, that's a pick 6. That's touchdown. Going the other way. Those are the things that I'm talking about that it's not going to work in the NFL. It's just not. I like the finish, though. He has some good finishes. Really good finish. Up at the top. Gets inside. Leans on the receiver. Look at the eye. Turns. Not easy takedown. Got a little yak. Fantastic. It's a good play. That's the flash that you're talking about. I like that.
He's really good at, when I talk to people, keeping his speed up, Steve, after he catches the ball.
Well, he's running 4.54. There ain't a lot of speed to keep up. But yeah.
Well, it doesn't slow down when the ball gets in his hands. How about
that?
Yeah,
that's good. I like it.
That's physical.
That is physical.
Oh, yeah.
Should have used that dude that was putting them clamps on you. Okay, he's down at the bottom. I'll just let it play. I'm not going to say much. Interception.
Can we compliment the interception, by the way?
Oh, we have to. We have to compliment the interception.
Hell of a grab.
That was a hell of a grab.
Got the foot down.
Yeah. What is that?
This is where I want to get into there is a very prevalent and consistent comparison that keeps coming up. during this process. And the NFL loves comps.
Mm.
I also think sometimes these comps, Steve, they get used and then they're used again, used again, used again, and there's not a lot of originality to them. And this one, with this player and T-Mac, has been used in this process ad nauseum, in my opinion, and also in the opinion of teams. It is a Drake London comp. How many times have you heard T-Mac is Drake London? T-Mac is Drake London. I can see by your reaction. You have the same opinion that every team I talk to had. He is not Drake London.
Oh, hold on. Is that a compliment?
He is not as physical as Drake London.
Okay.
They might have a similar build, but multiple teams told me the physicality and the way that they use their body and the actual play strength they have at 6'4", 215, 219, wherever they're at, is vastly different.
Vastly.
And the comp is lazy, according to some teams, inaccurate, according to some teams.
Preach.
And there are strengths that he has that I was told that Drake doesn't. We just talked about the after the catch. Drake's not a great after the catch player, right? Like, they do think T-Mac's ability, and it's not crazy high-end speed, but has the ability to keep speed and make guys miss afterwards.
Here's the unfair comparison, though. Drake London had Desmond Ridder's throwing him the football.
Okay.
So I don't think that's necessarily Drake London's fault. Hey, matter of fact, where is Drake? Where's Desmond Ridder right now?
He's bouncing around. So the point that most teams want to make, Steve, is much more of a finesse player in a big body receiver than Drake London is.
Okay.
Does not have the I will rip your face off mentality that Drake has when the ball's in the air. There was a part of that was brought up to me by an offensive coordinator that said, I went back and watched every single cut up of him going against press, which in college sometimes you can probably get through that pretty quickly. But he was like, you go watch him and somebody gets in his face at the line of scrimmage and disrupts him right out of the gate, there's going to be some issues there in the league if he doesn't learn to play at the line of scrimmage better. I don't think that was a Drake issue coming out. So teams are just trying to say, listen, it's a different player. It's not a good comp. And oftentimes in this process, the same comp keeps getting used over and over again. That got cleared up to me by like more than one team that was like, I don't know why I keep hearing this. This is not even close. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. It's just not a good comp.
Yeah.
So there were things that obviously, a lot of these, I'm trying to like go through the notes here, like they feel he's more wiry than say Drake is, even though it's a similar build. Do you see that in a sense? The way they play style is definitely different?
Yeah, their play style is definitely different.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's in stature, he's a little bit taller. I do think he's a little bit more wiry. He does have a little bit more just kind of rolls into his routes versus hitting it and cutting. He's more of a roller. But that's, everybody runs different routes, how they're taught the technique, what's the flavor of the month or what's been going on throughout that year that has been successful for them, right? If you're running and having success, rolling your routes in and out, you're going to roll it. It works, right? Until someone proves to you that it's not working. What do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it? Well.
And so that's just the difference. For me, it's just bringing up, man, I think and I believe he can play.
For sure. I didn't talk to anybody who said he can't.
Yes. I just am apprehensive on, and I end up doing this every year because every year someone sees a tall receiver and they automatically make him uncoverable. Oh man, he's uncoverable. And then it's like, no, he's coverable. I can show you several film, and it's not. And here's the craziest part about it all. It's rarely the tall, lengthy, athletic corner that's giving that tall receiver problems. It's the short, squatty, condensed, physical corner who disrupts the timing, who gets in his head. And for me, I watch it, I was like, well, if your size, if walking off the bus is supposed to intimidate people, then what does that mean when you're intimidating by walking off the bus, but then you unintimidate them when you walk on the field and they blow the whistle and they say, set go?
Yeah, don't want that. And that's why I was curious about this one, because I when you went back and watched all this film for all these guys, the one that was brought up to me was, man, there are contested catches I see where he goes up and he wins, and it's a strength to his game. But then there's times where he doesn't even give himself a chance to win the contested catch, because he's either bumped off or falls off the route before the chance for the contested catch happens. And that kind of alludes to what you just said with those physical type of cube-built corners that are just going to sit there and just bump you off as much as possible. Like, is that something you see that needs to be consistent? Not saying it's like you can't do it, but rubbed off of things within the route is something that was brought up to me.
Here's a comparison that I find myself hovering. He reminds me of Keon Coleman, where the athleticism and the jump ball is there, right? This is a kid.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. This kid played volleyball. So he
Great volleyball player.
He has springs. But volleyball and football.
Not only can you not touch another player in volleyball,
you can't even touch
the net.
Yeah. Yes. That's a no-no. You can't touch the net.
Yeah. Ball's in.
So he reminds me of Keon Coleman, which means I can see the athleticism, but that little lack of consistent separation, it's going to be problematic, and it's going to rear his head at times, right? Where 6'5" in the end zone, bang, jump ball. But what do you do when you're in the 30? What happens when a guy can run just like you, right? What happens when a guy is 6'3", can run just like you and can jump just like you? Now, all of a sudden, other than those 2 inches, what do you really have that's going to dominate this football player?
Yeah, that's the interesting part. And I feel like this might sound like a knock on T-Mac. Again, most of the teams have him as the number 1 receiver coming out. And most of the teams I talk to believe he's the only guy that can be a 1. So he's a good football player. I just think we wanted to have a discussion about the question marks that teams want to have answered during this process, and the things that they believe they can coach to change and make him that dominant receiver, and things that can be adjusted to make him that true number 1. We'll see. Maybe fit matters. Always does.
To wrap this all up, this is a guy, he's unique. And I think he can present some problems, but he does, like all of us, he has some things in his game that can slow him down. And if he doesn't work on them, it's going to be tough sled. It's going to be tough sled. So the skill set, the thing I love, size. Big, tall guy. Can't coach that. You tell me, drop it in the comments. You tell us, what is the skill set T-Mac has? What do you think he brings to the table? And we'll come back and review it.
Throw in your comp.
Yeah.
And don't say Drake London.
Yeah. Oh, here's a comp. I got a comp. Here's my comp.
Okay.
AJ Green.
Oh, that's a big body finesse receiver in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
I loved AJ Green's game.
I love AJ Green's game too.
Stay with us. 89 will be breaking down all of these receivers in the draft class. That's the guy that a lot of people have at the top. Some other teams have other opinions, Steve, on those next couple of guys that say they might wind up to have a pretty good NFL career. We'll be breaking them all down. Keep coming back to 89 for all of these receiver breakdowns.
So, totally sidetracked. I was down in South Carolina. They were talking to me about some young receivers. Hey, Steve, you got to talk to this kid, man. He's a dog. You got to talk to him. I asked the coach one question. One question. He said, man, he's a dog. I said, man, can he catch? You want to know what this coach said to me? He's improving. I said, what? What the? He's improving?
But he's a dog, Steve.
Man, that's like being a postman or woman working for the post office, and you can't read numbers. That's essential to the job. They talking about, hey man, you know that podcast used to be cut to it. I think it's I don't know. Numbers?
98.
Hey, it's that number between 90 and 88. Man, it just, that gummit, I don't know which one it is.